Welcome, fellow pioneers in the e-commerce wilderness, to the deep dive. If you're an Amazon seller, you know the landscape is always, well, shifting, and sometimes it feels like a new regulation or rumor pops up every week. Lately, the Canadian frontier, Amazon.ca, has been particularly buzzing with questions. Many of you are probably wondering, do I absolutely need to form an LLC now? Or maybe, is my individual seller account about to get shut down? Some of you managing your Amazon.ca accounts remotely are even asking if your whole operation is at risk. It's a swirling vortex of uncertainty, and honestly, we're here today to try and clear the air. Today, we're embarking on an in-depth exploration of Amazon Canada KYC 2025, what individual sellers need to know. Our mission is pretty straightforward: to untangle the real requirements, separate, solid facts from speculative fears, and arm you with truly actionable insight. This is especially for those of you operating as individuals or managing your Amazon.ca accounts from outside of Canada. We really want you to walk away from this discussion feeling confident and completely well-informed, not just more overwhelmed.
That's exactly right. Think of this as your express lane to clarity. We've meticulously sifted through a pretty substantial stack of reliable sources for you. That includes everything from official Amazon Seller Central documentation, which is always, our gold standard, to Canadian government tax guidance and reputable business publications and forums. We've dedicated significant time to extensive online research just to ensure you're getting the most accurate and up-to-date information, meticulously avoiding the kind of, well, rampant speculation that can sometimes dominate online discussions.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the very beginning, because here's where we cut through some of the most widespread panic and hopeful, set the record straight. Contrary to some of the, let's say, heated chatter and fear-mongering out there, no, you generally do not need to rush out and form an LLC or officially register a business just to keep selling on Amazon.ca because of these 2025 updates. Phew, that's a huge relief for many, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and it's a really critical distinction to make up front. Our discussion today will clearly differentiate between what Amazon requires for identity verification, which, largely depends on how your account is currently structured, and what might be a strategically beneficial move for your business in the long run. We'll definitely delve into why an LLC could be an incredibly robust framework for non-resident sellers, offering protection and streamlined operations, even if it's not an immediate mandate from Amazon's KYC update itself.
Okay, good. So, with that immediate relief hopefully sinking in, let's widen our lens a bit. Many sellers are hearing about KYC in these 2025 updates, but what exactly is KYC, and why has Amazon Canada suddenly put it front and center? What's the why behind the timing?
That's a fundamental question. So KYC is an acronym. It stands for Know Your Customer, or sometimes you'll hear Know Your Business. At its core, it's a standard mandatory process that financial institutions and increasingly major online platforms like Amazon use to verify the identity of their clients. It's essentially a due diligence measure. The primary goal is really to ensure transparency in transactions and, critically, to prevent illicit activities like money laundering, terrorist financing, or, widespread fraud. It's a globally recognized standard that brings legitimacy and security to marketplaces.
Right, so this isn't just an arbitrary Amazon rule then. It's not just them deciding to make things harder. What's the deeper regulatory driver pushing Amazon Canada specifically to make these updates now?
Exactly. This isn't Amazon simply deciding to change the rules on a whim. The reason for these updates is that Amazon Canada is actively aligning its practices with new, stricter Canadian regulations. Specifically, they are complying with requirements set forth by FINTRAC. That's the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center of Canada. FINTRAC is Canada's financial intelligence unit, and its mandate is basically to detect, prevent, and deter money laundering and the financing of terrorist activities. So this isn't an Amazon initiative per se, it's a legal compliance measure, mandated by Canadian law, designed to enhance financial transparency and prevent serious financial crimes.
Ah, okay. That puts it in a much clearer light. It's not just a platform requirement, it's a legal obligation stemming from Canadian law. That makes sense. And understanding the rollout timeline seems absolutely key to avoiding unnecessary stress and the kind of panic we've been seeing online.
Absolutely. So the update began its gradual rollout in early 2025, starting back in January. It's really crucial to understand that this is not a sudden universal mandate that hit every single seller simultaneously. Instead, existing sellers will be notified in phases. What truly matters for you, the individual seller listening, is that action is only required after specific notification appears in your Seller Central account health dashboard. That's the trigger. Once you receive that notification, Amazon typically provides a, pretty generous 60-day window from the notification date for you to submit all the requested documents. So, just to reiterate for everyone listening, It's not a panic situation. You don't need to preemptively submit documents or drastically change your business structure right this second. You wait for that specific notification. If you haven't received it yet, you genuinely don't need to do anything immediately regarding this KYC update. This gradual process will continue throughout the year, so it's really just about being prepared for when your turn comes up.
That time frame provides some breathing room, definitely. But it also underscores the importance of taking it seriously when that notification arrives. So, what are the real stakes here if a seller fails to provide the requested information within that 60-day window? Why does compliance matter so much?
Well, the primary reason compliance is so critical is that identity verification is, simply put, a non-negotiable legal obligation. It is required by Canadian law for anyone using an Amazon.ca selling account. This isn't just about Amazon wanting to know who you are. It's about maintaining a secure, legitimate, and trustworthy marketplace, which ultimately benefits all sellers, customers, and Amazon itself. It actively reduces the risk of, bad actors operating on the platform.
Right. And the consequences of noncompliance can be quite serious, truly impacting your ability to run your business. If you fail to provide the required information within that 60-day deadline, the direct outcome can be account deactivation. This means your Amazon.ca selling account would be suspended and you would no longer be able to list new products or fulfill existing orders. It's not a minor inconvenience. It directly severs your ability to generate revenue and operate your business on one of Canada's largest e-commerce platforms. It's pretty significant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Furthermore, this isn't a one-and-done checkbox exercise that you just complete and then forget about. Amazon will periodically re-verify account information. This means that even after your initial verification, you might be asked to resubmit documents or confirm details at a later date. Moreover, if any of your critical account details change, for example, your business address, your ownership structure, or even your primary contact information, you will be required to re-verify that information. This ensures ongoing compliance with evolving Canadian legal requirements and also makes sure Amazon always has the most current and accurate information for all its sellers.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk about where a significant amount of the initial confusion seems to arise for entrepreneurs. The difference between Amazon's selling plans and your actual business entity. These two terms get mixed up a lot, but they're completely distinct concepts within the Amazon ecosystem, right?
Yes, this is an absolutely critical distinction for sellers to grasp, and it causes a lot of head scratching. Amazon offers two main types of selling plans: the individual plan and the professional plan. The individual plan is often chosen by newer sellers, or maybe those with lower sales volumes, because it has no monthly subscription fee. Instead, you pay a small per-item selling fee each time an item sells. Simple enough. The professional plan, on the other hand, comes with a fixed monthly subscription fee. The trade-off is that it unlocks a whole suite of advanced selling tools, things like bulk listing capabilities, advertising options, eligibility for top placement on product detail pages, and more detailed business reports.
And here's the crucial point that often leads to misunderstanding, like you said. Switching from an individual selling plan to a professional selling plan does not automatically mean you've become a formally registered business entity. It's simply a change in your pricing model and the features you access within Amazon Seller Central. You can absolutely be an individual seller, someone operating under their personal name, and still be on my professional plan to leverage those advanced tools. I've seen many solo entrepreneurs make that jump for the added features without ever forming a formal company, and that's perfectly fine for Amazon.
Precisely. Separate and completely distinct from your chosen selling plan is your business type. This is something you select when you first register for your Amazon seller account. This is where you declare your legal identity to Amazon. Your options typically include none. I am an individual. That's for personal sellers or maybe sole traders who operate under their own name, or more formal options like corporation partnership or full proprietorship for businesses that have been officially registered with a government authority. This initial choice is really foundational to how Amazon perceives your legal structure.
So let's unpack this further, especially regarding that initial registration choice. Amazon's own official documentation is crystal clear on this. You can indeed sell on Amazon.ca as an individual without being formally incorporated. You don't necessarily need an LLC. You don't need a specific Canadian business license if your local laws don't require one for your type of operation, or even a Canadian bank account to get started, because Amazon Currency Converter supports international disbursements pretty well. The fundamental takeaway here is that the choice you made at sign up, whether you selected none, I am an individual, or formal business type, directly dictates what Amazon asks for when it comes to KYC, not whether you are eligible to sell at all. That seems key.
This brings us back to emphatically revisiting the core debunk we started with. The 2025 KYC update does not universally force individual Amazon.ca sellers to form a company. It just doesn't. This misunderstanding largely stems from scenarios where Amazon begins asking for business-related documents. But this generally only happens if your account was already set up by selecting a formal business type during registration. If you correctly registered your account as none, I am an individual, because you operate under your personal name, then for KYC purposes, Amazon will generally only require your personal identification documents. That's the main difference.
That's a huge clarification, particularly for solo entrepreneurs. So let's talk about sole proprietors specifically. Many people run a legitimate business under their own name. Maybe they even have a local business license, but they aren't formally incorporated as an LLC or a corporation. How does Amazon view them in this context?
That's an excellent question, and it's definitely a common point of confusion. For sole proprietors, the key really is what you told Amazon when you first set up your account. If you clicked None, I am an individual, during registration, even if you commercially operate as a sole proprietor in your local jurisdiction, Amazon will typically just ask for your personal government-issued ID and proof of address. They'll treat you as a private person for their initial KYC purposes. However, and this is the vital nuance, if you formally chose sole proprietorship as your business type during your initial Amazon registration, then yes, Amazon will expect business-specific documents from you, even though you're technically an individual trading under a business name. It's really Amazon's internal classification based on your initial declaration that primarily drives the document request list for KYC.
All right, that clears up a lot of the structural confusion and sets the foundation. Now let's get down to the brass tacks. What exact documents will Amazon actually ask for? This is where preparation truly pays off, and like you said, it completely depends on how your account is currently set up, whether you're registered as an individual or a specific business entity.
Exactly. The specific list of documents Amazon may request varies significantly depending on whether your account is set up as an individual or a formal business. We'll first go through the general requirements, which apply to pretty much everyone, and then we'll delve into the more extensive specifics for registered businesses. Okay, so for all sellers, whether you're operating as an individual under your own name or through a formally registered business, Amazon will typically ask for personal identity verification for the primary contact person on the account. This is the individual who registers the account, provides the registration info, and initiates transactions. This crucial verification includes two main types of documents.
First up, a government-issued photo ID. This needs to be a valid passport, a driver's license, or maybe a national ID card. It's absolutely critical that this document is valid for at least 6 months from the date you submit it. Don't let your ID expire right before you need to verify. That'll just cause unnecessary delays. Amazon needs to see your current official identity.
And second, you'll need a current proof of address. Accepted documents usually include a bank statement, a utility bill for services like electricity, water, or gas, or maybe an official tax notice. Crucially, this document must be dated within the last 180 days. The name and address on this document must exactly match what you have entered into your Seller Central account. They're incredibly particular about this. Even tiny discrepancies can lead to rejection. It's also vital to note that documents from online digital banks or many financial service providers are generally not acceptable as proof of address. They often lack the physical address verification that traditional utility bills or bank statements provide. And please, make sure it's not handwritten and definitely not just a screenshot. They need clear, high-quality images or scans of original-style documents. Think of Amazon as being super strict librarians when it comes to documentation.
Got it. Super strict librarians. Okay, those are the foundational basics that almost every seller will need. Now, if you are registered as a business seller, meaning you selected corporation, partnership, sole proprietorship, or any other formal business entity type when you first signed up, Amazon will ask for a significantly expanded set of documents, right? These will be required in addition to the personal ID and proof of address for your primary contact person.
Correct. For business sellers, the list expands significantly because Amazon needs to understand the legal structure and ownership of your entity. You might be asked for several things. First, a business registration extract. Think of this as your company's official birth certificate or ID. Amazon needs this to confirm your business is a legitimate legal entity. This document is basically a summary of details available from your national or local company register. Examples include your certificate of incorporation, maybe a master business license, or a certificate of registration. A common mistake here is submitting an outdated version. They always want the most current official filing. This helps Amazon verify the legal existence and active status of your business.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
You could also be asked for your articles of organization, or articles of association. These are foundational documents that outline the basic structure and governance of your company. For an LLC, the articles of organization legally establish the entity. For a corporation, the articles of association define the purpose, powers, and responsibilities. Amazon uses these to understand the legal framework under which your business operates and to ensure it aligns with what you've declared.
Gotcha. And for U.S. businesses specifically?
Yes, so U.S. businesses, an EIN confirmation letter, specifically the CP 575A from the IRS, is often required. This isn't just any document with your EIN, it's the official letter the IRS sends you directly, proving your employer identification number has been assigned. Amazon often looks for this specific form as robust proof of your federal tax ID, which is crucial for identifying your business for tax purposes and verifying its legitimacy. A common error is submitting a different IRS letter or just a screenshot. Amazon usually wants that specific CP 575A.
Okay, the specific letter. What about proving the business is, active and in good standing?
Good point. If requested, a certificate of good standing will be needed. This document, which must be dated within the past 180 days, certifies that your business is in compliance with all administrative requirements in its jurisdiction, meaning it has filed all necessary reports and paid any required fees to the state. Amazon asks this to ensure your business is actively and legally recognized by the state where it's registered. An expired or nearly expired certificate is a common reason for rejection here, so check those dates carefully.
Right, 180 days seems to be the magic number for most of these. What about internal company documents, like for LLCs or corporations?
Yes, absolutely. For LLCs, an operating agreement may be requested. This is a crucial internal document that defines how your LLC operates, outlining the financial and functional decisions of the business. Amazon will be looking for specific details within this agreement, including the total shares, ownership percentages of all members, procedures for transferring ownership interests, and critically, the dates and signatures of all shareholders or members. This document helps Amazon understand the true ownership and management structure. It's essentially the rule book for your LLC.
And for corporations, similar idea.
Pretty much. For corporations, signed bylaws might be required. These are the internal rules that govern the management of a corporation. Amazon needs these to see the corporate objectives, the management structure, and internal processes. They should be signed and dated by all beneficial owners, clarifying how decisions are made and who holds power within the corporate entity. Like the operating agreement, it's about Amazon verifying the actual governance and ownership behind the corporate veil.
Okay, and beyond the business registration itself, do they need proof of the business's address too?
Yes, that's another key one for businesses. Business sellers will also need a specific business proof of address. This isn't your personal utility bill. This document must clearly show your business name and business address, and it needs to match what's in Seller Central exactly. Accepted forms could be a business bank statement, a certified bank letter, a business utility bill, gas, water, electricity, TV, internet, mobile, landline, phone, a business credit card statement, or maybe even a mortgage statement for a business property. Again, it must be dated within 180 days. This verifies the physical location of your registered business entity.
Wow. Okay, what's fascinating here is how deep Amazon's verification goes. They really want to understand the true ownership structure behind the entity, not just the name on the door. Sometimes, especially with more complex structures or if there's any ambiguity, they'll ask for something called a self-attestation letter, right?
Yes, exactly. This document's explicit purpose is to clarify your business ownership structure. It essentially paints a very clear picture of who ultimately owns and controls the company, the actual people, the natural persons behind the legal entity. The contents of this letter are very specific. It must be a signed document that includes your business name and registration number, the jurisdiction where your business is registered, and most importantly, the full names and birth dates of all beneficial owners. These are defined as the natural persons who directly or indirectly own more than 25% of the shares or voting rights, or, if no one meets that 25% threshold, the senior managing officials of the business. It also needs to list their specific ownership percentages and conclude with a formal statement confirming the accuracy of all the information provided. It's basically you swearing who owns the company.
And what about formatting for that? Does it need to be super formal?
It needs to be current, that's key, dated within 180 days. It may even require notarization or to be printed on official company letterhead, especially for larger entities, to add that layer of formality. For a simpler structure, like say, a sole beneficial owner who operates through their own corporation, the ownership chart section would just be 2 boxes. You as the beneficial owner directly linked to your corporation. It's a straightforward way for Amazon to confirm your setup and ensure there are no hidden owners. Any inconsistencies here are definitely a red flag for Amazon's verification team.
Okay. And one more document type, you mentioned the letter of authorization. When does that come into play?
Right, the letter of authorization, or LOA.
Hmm.
This is needed if the primary contact person, remember, that's the individual who manages the Seller Central account, provides registration info, and initiates transactions, is not actually a beneficial owner, director, or trustee of the business. So, for example, if you have a manager or maybe an employee designated as the primary contact on the account, the LOA must clearly authorize that specific primary contact person to act on behalf of the business. It must be a signed document issued by someone who is a beneficial owner, director, or trustee, explicitly granting the authority needed for account management. This just ensures that the person operating the account has the legal right and permission to do so.
Wow, that is a comprehensive list of documents. So what does all of this mean for actually preparing and submitting them? Are there any crucial notes or common pitfalls people should absolutely avoid?
Absolutely. A few critical points to remember for all documents you submit. They must be clear, perfectly legible, and completely unedited. What does unedited mean? It means no highlights, no blacked out information, no digital alterations of dates or names, and no watermarks or stamps that weren't originally on the document. Amazon systems often use OCR, that's optical character recognition, to verify information, and any tampering will likely lead to automatic rejection. It's always best to scan original documents in high resolution just to be safe.
Good tip. What if they ask for, say, 2 documents but only give you 1 upload slot?
Yeah, that's a common question. If Amazon requires multiple documents for a single upload field, like maybe both sides of an ID card, or an ID and a proof of address together, you can merge them into one single PDF file. This is a pretty simple process using tools like Microsoft Word or Adobe Acrobat. You can insert each document's image onto a separate page within a Word document, make sure everything is clear and readable, and then just save the entire document as a PDF. This ensures Amazon receives all the necessary information in a single organized file. Remember, the goal is to make it as easy as possible for them to verify your information quickly and accurately.
So what does this all mean for you, the seller listening right now? The key takeaway seems to be preparation, preparation, preparation. Know exactly what Amazon might ask for, depending on how you've set up your account, whether as an individual or a specific business entity type, and have those documents ready, current, and perfectly organized. This isn't something you want to be scrambling for when that 60-day clock starts ticking. Having them in order before the notification arrives will save you immense stress and prevent potential account issues. Okay, so we've established that for individual sellers, forming an LLC isn't universally required by Amazon for these KYC updates. But here's where it gets really interesting for many entrepreneurs, especially those who don't live in the US but operate Amazon.ca accounts remotely. Forming an LLC can be an incredibly smart strategic move. If you're a global Amazon seller, particularly a non-resident, an LLC isn't just about immediate compliance. It's really about building a robust foundation for protecting and actively growing your business long-term.
That's an excellent pivot, and it highlights a crucial difference between just meeting minimum requirements and adopting best practices for long-term success. While Amazon's immediate KYC update might not mandate an LLC for every individual seller, for many, especially non-resident entrepreneurs, it provides a powerful, robust framework. What's fascinating here is how an LLC can offer multiple layers of benefit that go far beyond just identity verification. First, there's the clear advantage of business credibility and professionalism. Operating under a legally formed LLC can add a significant layer of legitimacy and, frankly, perceived trustworthiness to your operations. This can be beneficial in numerous aspects. Think about establishing stronger relationships with suppliers who often prefer dealing with formal entities, making it easier to open business bank accounts, and even positioning your business for future growth and potential investment opportunities down the line. It signals to partners and financial institutions that you are serious, structured, and committed to your venture.
Absolutely. And for most entrepreneurs, the most compelling reason to form an LLC is undoubtedly liability protection. This is huge, and it's a primary reason we recommend considering this strategy to avoid future problems. An LLC effectively creates a legal wall, separating your personal assets, your house, your savings, your car, from your business assets and debts. Imagine a scenario where, I don't know, a customer claims your product caused some issue, or you face a dispute with a supplier over a large order that goes sour, leading to a lawsuit. Without an LLC, your personal assets could potentially be on the line. An LLC protects your personal finances from potential business debts, lawsuits, or other unforeseen liabilities. This isn't just about avoiding problems. It's about securing your personal financial future and giving you the confidence to take calculated business risk without jeopardizing everything you personally own.
Precisely. And for non-resident sellers, an LLC also offers significant operational ease and recognition. Amazon Global Selling explicitly confirms that non-resident sellers can indeed operate through foreign entities. You don't necessarily need to register a Canadian company or even hold a Canadian bank account to sell on Amazon.ca. Amazon Currency Converter is pretty robustly supported for disbursements directly to your home country's bank account. A US LLC provides a recognized, well-understood business entity for international operations, simplifying cross-border commerce, managing funds, and interacting with official bodies. It gives you a stable legal anchor in a major global economy, which can be very helpful.
Plus, depending on how you structure it and your personal tax situation, an LLC can offer tax flexibility. It can provide advantages for clear separation of income and expenses for tax reporting purposes, which can greatly simplify your financial record keeping and tax filing processes. Operating as a recognized business entity often makes it easier to track and categorize business deductions, potentially leading to a more favorable tax outcome. However, and this is always crucial, tax laws are incredibly complex and vary massively based on your specific situation, your home country, everything. So always consult a qualified tax advisor for personalized guidance tailored to your circumstances. Don't rely on general advice for tax matters.
Now, a very important caveat to discuss, especially if you're considering a US LLC for your Amazon.ca operations, concerns Canadian taxes, specifically GST/HST. While a US LLC can effectively manage your Amazon operations and provide numerous benefits, Canadian tax laws still apply to your sales into Canada. This is a critical point that many sellers, especially those new to cross-border selling, can easily overlook. It's easy to think a US LLC solves everything, but Canadian tax is separate.
This is a truly significant detail. So if your total sales to Canadian customers, meaning sales where the customer is actually located in Canada, exceeds $30,000 in any rolling 12-month period, you are legally required by the Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA, to register for GST/HST. Once registered, you have to collect these taxes from your Canadian customers at the point of sale and then remit them to the Canadian government. That CA $30,000 threshold for GST/HST is a big one. It's not the most glamorous part of running an Amazon business, I'll admit, but diligently tracking it is.
Well, it's like having a superpower against potential future headaches with the Canadian tax authorities. You need to stay on top of it. That's absolutely right. And to be clear, this is Canadian law, not an Amazon rule or a US LLC rule. It applies regardless of your business entity or where your LLC is formed. If your sales are below that CA $30,000 threshold, you generally don't need to register for GST/HST. However, the responsibility to proactively track and monitor your sales threshold diligently falls squarely on you to ensure continuous compliance with Canadian tax regulations. Failure to register and remit when you exceed the threshold can lead to penalties and interest. So keep a very, very close eye on those Canadian sales figures and definitely consult a Canadian tax professional if you're approaching or over that limit.
Okay, good heads up. So with those strategic considerations in mind, particularly the long-term protection and professionalism an LLC offers, let's walk through the step-by-step process for non-resident sellers who decide, okay, I want to leverage a US LLC for my Amazon.ca business. This is the practical path if you choose the smart strategy.
Indeed. The very first step, logically, is to form your LLC. You'll need to choose a U.S. state for your LLC, and we'll delve into that in much more detail in our next section, as that decision has its own set of strategic considerations. Once you've selected your state, you'll formally file your Articles of Organization with that state's Secretary of State. This is the document that officially creates your LLC. A crucial, often overlooked part of this process is appointing a registered agent. This is a mandatory service for any LLC. They receive legal, tax, and government correspondence on your business's behalf, ensuring you never miss important notices, especially if you're not physically in the U.S.
Right, the registered agent is key. And a critically important part of forming your LLC, especially for U.S.-based entities, is obtaining an Employer Identification Number, or EIN, from the IRS. Think of this as your business's federal tax ID number, kind of like a Social Security number, but for a business. For this entire process, from choosing a state to getting your EIN, we highly recommend looking into a service like Northwest Registered Agent. They offer truly competitive pricing, often just $39 plus the state filing fees for formation, and that usually includes your first year of registered agent service, which is great value. They're also renowned for their excellent customer support, their commitment to address privacy, which is a big deal for many online sellers, and a very user-friendly online document dashboard where you can access all your important business paperwork easily. For detailed step-by-step guides on forming an LLC, including how to efficiently utilize services like Northwest, you can visit n.startupsoul.com. It's a fantastic resource that walks you through every detail of setting up your US LLC as a non-resident.
Absolutely. Once your LLC is successfully formed and you have your EIN in hand, step 2 is to update your Amazon account. This might involve an optional upgrade to a professional plan if you sell more than 40 items a month or need those advanced tools we discussed earlier. You can do this easily in Seller Central, under Settings, Account Info, Your Services. The truly crucial part here, though, is to change your legal entity information. Navigate to Account Info, Business Information, Legal Entity in Seller Central. Here you will enter your LLC's legal name and its registered address exactly as they appear on your official EIN letter from the IRS and your Articles of Organization. Precision is absolutely paramount. Even a minor typo or, say, an abbreviation difference can trigger verification delays or rejections. Get it right the first time.
Okay, exact match is key. Moving on to step 3, this involves completing the tax interview within Seller Central. Amazon's system will guide you through the appropriate IRS tax form. It will typically be a W-8 BEN for non-U.S. individuals or disregarded entities, which includes most single-member LLCs owned by non-U.S. residents, or it might be a W-9 for U.S. entities. You don't get to manually choose the form. Amazon's intelligence system determines it based on your answers during the interview. It is absolutely essential that the name and EN you provide during this interview match your IRS records precisely. Any mismatch will lead to an invalid form submission, causing frustrating verification delays and potentially putting your disbursements on hold. So be diligent, provide your EN you were requested, and double-check those details against your official IRS documents before hitting submit.
Then in step 4, you'll upload your documents. This is where all that earlier preparation pays off. You will submit your government-issued ID and proof of address for the primary contact person, alongside your LLC's official Articles of Organization and your EIN confirmation letter, the CP575A, if that's what Amazon specifically requests. If Amazon also asks for a self-attestation letter, as we discussed earlier, you'll provide that, meticulously detailing your ownership structure and beneficial owners. As a critical reminder, ensure all these documents are crystal clear, perfectly legible, completely unedited, and current meaning issued within the last 180 days. Submitting blurry, altered, or expired documents is a leading cause of verification failure. Don't trip at the finish line.
Right. And finally, step 5 is to diligently monitor your account health dashboard within Seller Central. This dashboard is your primary communication channel with Amazon during this whole verification process. Keep a very close eye out for any further requests from Amazon. They might ask for additional documents, clarifications, or simply provide confirmation that your submission is being reviewed. Responding promptly to any request within that crucial 60-day window, if this is part of a KYC notification, is absolutely critical to avoid any account deactivation or delays in your ability to sell. Think of it as Amazon's direct line to you. You need to answer when they call.
And just an important note on timing here. Forming an LLC and subsequently updating your Amazon account is a strategic business decision you can initiate at any time. It's largely independent of Amazon's specific KYC notification deadline for individual sellers, if you even get one. However, it's always prudent to ensure that your business documents, like your certificate of good standing, if applicable, are ready and current, meaning within that 180-day validity window whenever you decide to submit them to Amazon. Don't wait until the last minute of a potential KYC deadline to start the LLC formation process if that's the path you choose. Be proactive. Give yourself plenty of time.
Absolutely. Proactive is the way to go. So you've decided an LLC is the right strategic move for your Amazon.ca business, but then a significant question arises. Which U.S. state should you choose for your LLC? It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all answer, and while Amazon doesn't mandate a specific U.S. state, any legally formed U.S. entity is generally acceptable. Your choice can significantly impact your costs, your privacy, and your ongoing administrative paperwork.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that there's no single best state. The optimal choice really depends on your specific business priorities as a non-U.S. resident Amazon FBA seller. When making this decision, you should meticulously consider several key factors. Where will your inventory primarily be stored? This can sometimes create what's called a tax nexus, meaning your business might then be considered to have a physical presence in that state, potentially incurring state-specific tax obligations, even if you don't have an office there. Something to think about. You also need to think about your budget for both the initial formation and the ongoing annual fees. What's your desire for privacy regarding owner information being public? And do you plan to open a U.S. bank account, as some states might be viewed more favorably by certain banking institutions, especially for non-residents?
Good points. Let's break down a few popular states and explore why non-U.S. resident Amazon FBA sellers often consider them, highlighting the pros and cons. First up, Wyoming. This state is often a favorite for many entrepreneurs, especially those prioritizing privacy. Its significant pros include no state income tax, which is a major financial benefit. It also boasts exceptionally strong privacy features, often allowing owners to remain unnamed in public records, providing an extra layer of confidentiality. Wyoming also has relatively low annual fees, typically around US $60 for the annual report. Plus, it offers the flexibility to re-domicile existing LLCs, meaning you can move an LLC formed in another state to Wyoming relatively easily. The main con for Amazon FBA sellers, however, is that it generally has fewer Amazon fulfillment centers compared to some other states, which might be a logistical consideration.
Then we have Delaware. This state is renowned globally for its highly business-friendly laws, making it a popular choice for larger corporations and startups, particularly those seeking venture capital down the road. It offers a degree of anonymity and a very stable, well-developed legal environment, which can be reassuring for international businesses. Delaware is also known for strong asset protection provisions. However, a significant con is its higher annual franchise tax, which can be around US $300, a cost to consider regardless of your business activity or profit. While popular, its benefits are often more geared toward larger, more complex organizations than a typical solo Amazon seller might need.
Okay, what about Nevada?
Nevada is another intriguing option. Its pros include no corporate income tax, similar to Wyoming, which can be attractive for profit retention. Additionally, it boasts a pretty large network of Amazon fulfillment centers, which can be a significant logistical advantage for FBA sellers looking for optimized shipping routes and storage options within the U.S. On the flip side, a notable con is that it tends to have higher annual maintenance fees compared to some other states, so you'll definitely want to factor those recurring costs into your budget.
Interesting. And you mentioned Ohio earlier.
It's Ohio. LLC University, which is a highly reputable educational resource for US LLCs, actually recommends Ohio specifically for non-US residents who don't have employees or physical offices located in the US. Its pros are particularly appealing for lean operations, a very low formation cost, typically around just US $99. Furthermore, it does not require an annual report, making its annual maintenance fees quite inexpensive, which is great for cash flow. The main con is that it offers less privacy regarding owner information compared to states like Wyoming, as some owner details may be publicly accessible. So it's a trade-off between cost and privacy there.
Right. As you can see, each state really has its unique advantages and disadvantages. The best choice truly hinges on your specific needs for cost, privacy, and logistical considerations related to your Amazon business. Before making a final decision that will impact your business structure for years to come, it's really important. In fact, I'd say it's essential to consult a qualified tax advisor. Your individual circumstances can vary greatly, especially with international operations and cross-border taxes. A tax professional who understands both U.S. and maybe even Canadian tax implications can help you navigate the nuances of state-specific taxes, annual fees, and compliance requirements that will impact your Amazon.ca business specifically. Don't skip that step. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground today, from debunking common myths that were causing, frankly, widespread panic, to laying out a clear, actionable path forward for your Amazon.ca journey. Let's quickly recap the most essential insights and practical advice you can implement right away.
Absolutely. First and foremost, KYC is real, but don't panic. Amazon Canada's 2025 KYC update is a gradual, regulatory-driven process, not some sudden platform-wide shutdown. The key is to act only when you are notified via your Seller Central Account Health dashboard. And remember, you'll have a clear 60-day window to comply once that notification appears. No need for immediate, unprompted action right now.
Secondly, and this is a big takeaway that should put many minds at ease, there's no universal mandate to incorporate. If you're currently operating as an individual seller and registered as such with Amazon, you typically do not need to form a company solely for KYC compliance. Your personal government-issued ID and proof of address will usually suffice. Don't fall for the fear that you must immediately become an LLC just because of this.
However, for those of you who are non-resident individual sellers thinking strategically, a strategic LLC for protection and growth can be a very, very wise, proactive move. It's a powerful step that offers crucial liability protection, enhances your business's professionalism and credibility, and can significantly simplify managing future business complexities, especially for international operations. It's really about building a solid, future-proof foundation for your business.
Fourth point, document readiness is absolutely key. Regardless of how your business is structured, whether as an individual or a formal entity, ensure all your identity and business documents are current. Remember that 180-day rule, perfectly clear, completely unedited, and ready to be uploaded. Know exactly what Amazon needs based on your registration status before they ask to avoid any last-minute stress or scrambling.
Fifth, diligently monitor your Canadian sales for GSTHST compliance. That CA $30,000 threshold for GSTHST registration is a Canadian federal law, not just an Amazon rule, and it applies to all sellers whose sales to Canadian customers exceed that amount in any rolling 12-month period. Keep diligent records and consult a Canadian tax professional if you're nearing or over that threshold. Seriously.
And finally, if you decide to pursue an LLC, remember SMART LLC state selection. Consider states like Wyoming, Delaware, Nevada, or Ohio based on your specific needs for cost, privacy, and logistical advantages. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all decision, so choose wisely and ideally with expert advice tailored to your situation.
Which really raises an important question for you, the listener.
Yeah.
How can you best prepare your Amazon business for a future that's, let's face it, always evolving? Taking these proactive and informed steps will empower you to navigate the Amazon.ca landscape with confidence and ensure your business is not just compliant, but also strategically positioned for sustainable success and long-term growth.
Absolutely. As the digital marketplace continues its rapid evolution, the true competitive edge often lies not just in what fantastic products you sell, but in the smart, compliant, and well-protected structure you thoughtfully build around your business. So the final thought is, what steps will you take today to future-proof your Amazon success and gain that invaluable peace of mind?
And remember, if forming a US LLC is a path you choose for your Amazon.ca business, you're definitely not alone in that journey. Detailed guides and comprehensive resources, including how to efficiently leverage services like Northwest Registered Agent, are readily available to walk you through the entire process on n.startupsoul.com. We've compiled everything you need there to help you get started.
We really encourage you to continue the conversation, share your experiences with KYC or LLC formation, and ask any follow-up questions you might have on this complex but crucial topic. You can find us on our social media channels. Please follow us there to stay informed on the latest updates for entrepreneurs and global Amazon sellers. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Amazon Canada KYC 2025. We hope it was helpful, and we'll catch you on the next one.